But good evening and welcome to the Kenmore-Tonawanda Union Free School District Board of Education meeting for June 2nd, 2020. District Clerk, please note that all trustees are present. I'd like everybody to please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, item number 4 is the presentation of the 2020-2021 budget. Mr. Brocato.
Okay. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so tonight we'll just be going over the 2021 budget hearing. Here's just a quick recap of the timeline. We've made it to the end, although a later date than we had originally planned back in May due to the pandemic. So we have the budget hearing tonight, and then next Tuesday will be the budget vote by absentee ballot. So here's a quick look at our revenues and expenditures. So our total budget proposed this year is $169,079,474. You'll see the majority of our budget is made up with instruction at 59%, and then employee benefits is the next biggest chunk at 22%. So of course we have to adopt a balanced budget. So as you'll see here, real property taxes is at 52% going into the proposed budget for 2020-2021. As we've talked before, we would really like to see state and federal sources be more 50%, so we can ease the burden on our local taxpayer. But through continued advocacy, we hope to achieve that. So as mandated by law, we have to present our budget in a 3-part format. So part 1 is the administrative budget, comprised of the 4 components you see here. Our program budget is majority of our budget that you can see under here, including instructional media, student services, transportation, special ed. And then our capital budget is the 3rd part. Any kind of debt service, which is outstanding that we've had on previous projects, judgments and claims, and then our general maintenance and operations, our buildings and grounds departments, those kinds of expenses. So graphically, this is our 3-part budget. Program being the majority at 77%. And here's a quick look at our budget history. So we always like to show our historical budget percent increase. You'll see over the past 10 years, this is one of our lower budget increases that we've had at 1.08%, averaging since 01 at 2.54%. I know in our last meeting, I thanked the board and our cabinet and our administrative team, and I just want to take an opportunity to do that again. This was one of the more difficult budgets that we had to put together under these unprecedented circumstances, but we were able to close the gap of $4 million at the onset, and we're looking at a 1.08% increase over the current fiscal year. So here's a look at our use of fund balance and reserves. We showed this graph at the last meeting. So in 2021, we're hoping to finish with an increased appropriation to our reserves, but given the circumstances of the pandemic and the uncertainty surrounding state aid, we may not be in that position, but based on our current projections, this is where we hope to be. And you'll see the green bar is actually leveling off. That's our actual usage, which really just indicates we're relying less on our fund balance and reserves to balance our budget. So here's a summary of our property taxes for next year that's being proposed to the voters. So we're looking at a total tax levy of just over 88 million, which is a $2.2 million increase over the current fiscal year, which equates to 2.59% on the levy over 1920. So we are within the cap. We're actually right at the cap at 2.59%. So we do not require a super majority vote for this budget that's being proposed. So we like to take a look at the estimated tax rate. Now, this slide is assuming no change in assessed value. Typically, the assessed value is increased every year, which would drive the tax rate down. But based on the current data that we have, we're looking at a tax rate of $52.94 per thousand, which is a $1.34 increase over the current year. Again, 2.59%. This may be lowered a little bit, assuming that the assessed value does increase for next year. And then we take a look at a 5 and 10-year average. So we're a little bit over the 5-year average, but our 10-year average, we are able to maintain lower than that 3.28%. So here's a similar graph, our historical tax rate percentage increase. You'll see just kind of graphically what I was speaking to on the previous slide. Our 10-year average is 3.28%, but we've been able to keep that under at 2.59. So I threw a lot of numbers out. So what does this mean to the average taxpayer with a house of $100,000 full market value? So we take a comparison of our current 2019-20 and our projected 2020-2021. Now, something important to recognize is that the equalization rate is actually dropping 2%. So we're looking at 35% to 33%. So that changes the actual assessed value on the full value property and is actually decreasing it by $2,000. And then you'll see that $1.34 per thousand tax rate. And the actual taxes paid would decrease in this model by $59 simply because that equalization rate is going down. So we have multiple propositions this year. So of course, our first proposition is the budget at just over 169 million. Proposition 2 is our bus purchase. We're looking at purchasing 10 buses. So the total prop is almost 1.2 million, but we have this number aided at 70%. So the true cost of the district is almost 350,000. And the majority of that is made up by state aid, transportation aid specifically. And then the third proposition, we're looking to establish a capital reserve. What's important to note is that we're not looking to expend any additional money. This isn't costing any additional money to the taxpayer. We're really just looking to open up another savings account. So in the event that we're able to generate a surplus, we can put more money into the capital reserve for a future project, similarly to what we did to this project, and offset any local expenditure by doing so. So we're looking at a $20 million cap over a 15-year lifespan. And this $20 million cap is rolling. So if we put $10 million in it and take $10 million out, we still only have $10 million left to put in. So it keeps accumulating on that cap. And we have 15 years to spend whatever is appropriated to that reserve. So just by law, we have to present this to the voters. And as I had mentioned before, we're really looking to put any additional funding that we can into this reserve to save in the future for any kind of tax levy increase when we do capital work, because we have a $75 million project right now, but when we look at our total work that has to get done, it's well over 200 million. So that's not something that we can do all in 1 year or really a few years, but we look to put money away when we can to help offset any kind of impact on the tax levy. So what happens if the budget is not approved by the public? We've used a slide in the past. We can resubmit the original budget or resubmit the revised budget. But the thing is, this year, there hasn't been a lot of communication in terms of submitting a new or revised budget because of the condensed timeline. So we may be in a position where we have to adopt a contingency budget, which essentially means that we can't levy an additional amount on the tax levy over the 2019-20. So the only other option is to either reduce expenditures or appropriate reserves. So we would be in a position where we would do a combination of both. We would look to eliminate any non-contingent expenses as defined by the state, and then plug the remaining gap with our savings account. Now, this could get us through for the next year or so, but this is not a sustainable model. So we don't want to be in a position where we're having to submit and adopt a contingency budget. So here's just a summary slide of the 2021 budget. You can find all of the information on our website, ktufsd.org/budget. We have every presentation that we've had. The live streams are linked there. Our long-range financial plan is there. So you can see that Kenton's budget history and moving forward financially is all summarized on this page. So here are the voter qualifications, but again, keep in mind that all the voting is by absentee ballot this year. So normally we have our voting at Hoover, but obviously those will be all mailed into the district. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
I don't have any questions, John. I want to thank you for finding a way to close that gap and, you know, as always, taking really complicated topics and paring them down so the average person can understand what's happening. And yeah, that not being able, this absentee ballot and then the number that we have is concerning. So, you know, I hope people understand how important the budget and then the 2 additional propositions are for our students. We have a balanced budget right now. We're not cutting positions, we're not cutting student programming, but who knows what will happen if we have to use a contingency budget. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
Agreed.
Any comments from the rest of the board? Okay. All right. So then we want to see if there's any public comments regarding the budget.
I'm not seeing anything through the live stream. Gina, I don't know if you received anything ahead of time.
I haven't received any, no.
Okay, then I think we're all set.
Okay. All right, then we are on to item number 5A, which is the presentation of the 2021 District Safety Plan. You're a busy man tonight, Mr. Brocato.
Yes, I am. All right, let me just share that one now. All right. This will be a quick one. So every year we need to present on our district safety plan and have a public hearing. Just a quick summary, the Safe Schools Against Violence in Education, the SAVE Act, was enacted in 2000 and established that districts had to put together a task force comprised of the different constituents you can see there. So we have a district-wide safety plan and individual school emergency response plans. The district-wide safety plan is a public document that we have on our website, and the school building emergency response plans are individualized to each building. These are not public. These have detailed information in terms of what we do in an emergency. However, these are shared with local and state law enforcement. So in the event of emergency, they know and are in concert with what we do to respond. So our district safety team is approximately 29 members, made up of anywhere from building reps to administrators, buildings and grounds, food service. Our insurance carrier has a rep on it, and our BOCES safety risk officer. So this district-wide safety team really is just a conglomerate of our individualized building safety teams. So those individualized building safety team liaisons come to our district level and really kind of portray any kind of issues and just some FYI. So we really have that two-way communication between the district and building level. You know, we outline procedures, lockdown, lockout, shelter in place, hold in place, and evacuation, and then really go over our communication protocols each year. So they don't change too much, but this is something we reinforce every year. So we typically hold the meeting in the Buildings and Grounds Department because it's pretty well centralized. And then you'll see the tentative meeting dates are up on the screen here, October, December, February, April, and June. Promise that will be quick. I don't know if there are any questions from the board, but I don't see anything from public comment.
John, I will say that probably about, maybe it must have been in the fall, so a little while ago, I had a conversation with Detective Fell that they had not gotten an updated floor plan of Kenmore Middle and the Village PD because we put in those doorways to close off the pre-K and then of course closed off the cafeteria to make the boardroom. So do you know if we've sent, I feel like I CC'd you on, we did like a two-way introduction, but did we provide that updated information?
I don't believe we did, but I'll certainly get into contact and make sure they have the updated floor plan.
I'll do a three-way email with him,
Okay,
and then because he just happened to mention it when I was there, and I'm not sure now if I did or didn't send the email. So okay, do that.
okay, no problem.
Anything else from the board? Okay. All right, so we are now in our regular session. So item 6A is a motion to approve the agenda. May I have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
So moved by Matt, second
Second.
by Andrew. Any discussion? There being none, I call for a vote. All those in favor so signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carried unanimously. Item 6B, approval of the minutes from the May 12th, 2020 regular Board of Education meeting and Code of Conduct public hearing. Motion to approve?
Moved.
I'm sorry, who was that? Who was the first? I didn't hear. I must be having some.
Andrew.
Oh, Andrew. Okay. Sorry, Andrew. Couldn't hear you. All right. Second.
Second.
Okay. Tom, any discussion? There being none, I call for a vote. All those in favor so signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Motion carried unanimously. Okay. Mr. Mercado, Mr. Bovino, are you still here by phone?
I'm still here, thank you.
Okay. It's your turn.
Since I don't have the agenda in front of me, I'm assuming we're doing the recognition at this point, correct?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good evening, everyone. My apologies. Since this is my last regular board meeting, I thought I would do it at the community room, came in early, got everything set up, and 5 minutes before the meeting, we've lost the internet in this building. So if it comes back online, I will certainly get online. Another little problem, just coming in here early and looking over my notes, I found that the lights go out. So I want to thank Mike Colmar for setting up a oscillating fan that has fooled these sensors and keeping the lights on. So we have a couple of recognitions tonight. I want to thank Lucas and Emily for serving this past year as student representatives to the Board of Education. We've appreciated your insight on a host of issues. On the other hand, you had the opportunity to experience the governance of the district. I hope you found this experience enlightening, and perhaps in the future you will consider serving on a Board of Education as an elected member in the future. We will be sending you a certificate of appreciation and one of our Kenton Proud t-shirts to your home very shortly. In addition to our two board representatives, I'd like to announce another recognition. This concerns John Mercado. John is this year's recipient of the George A. Perry Volunteer Service Award, conferred by the Association of School Board Officials of New York, otherwise known as ASBO. This award recognizes a member who has demonstrated outstanding volunteer service and commitment to the association. We also learned last week that John was elected to the board of directors of ASBO, the New York chapter. So certainly congratulations to John. It's a recognition of your expertise by your colleagues, and we're very proud to have you working here at Kenton.
That's great
Thank
news,
you.
John.
Congratulations, John.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, John.
Nice going, John.
Okay, is that it, Mr. Bovino?
That's it for this portion.
Okay, all right, very good. Okay, and now we are on to item 8A, public comments. Do we have any public comments, John or Gina?
I don't have any.
Okay,
None that I see.
all right, and then we'll move on to item 9A. We do have the audit committee meeting next week, but I don't think anybody, actually, Matt, did you have Staff Development Center? Yeah, you want to give a report on that?
First part, just discuss the fact that all courses this summer, which we had talked about before, will be online, and the actual registration for those courses begins Thursday. And they're already looking at the fall and the possibility that that may be the case then in the fall. The main part of the meeting was about this year's grant, which the amount stayed the same as last year. However, some of the funds were moved around differently, and we first went through the line by line funding of this year's budget and eventually voted unanimously on that. And then the reapplication grant for 2021 was also reviewed and voted on. We looked at next year's calendar, and although there's a calendar in place, again, we're pretty sure that some of those dates may be moved or changed, and so it's not written in stone at this point. And then we had we said a nice goodbye to a retiring teacher, Dan Yachts, a longtime science teacher in our district, who also has for a long time served on the policy board and has been a big part of that policy board. And, he made a nice speech at the end, thanking everybody for a card we had sent. That was basically that meeting.
Okay. Any other reports that I might have missed? No? Okay. All right, then we are on to item 9B. This is a resolution I'll go ahead and read it. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Kenmore-Tonawanda Union Free School District hereby authorizes and directs Board President to execute the attached consulting agreement. This is for our continuity between Mr. Bovino and our new superintendent that we'll be announcing at next Monday's meeting. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved by
Second.
Michelle, second by Andrew. Any discussion? There being none, I call for a vote. All those in favor so signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carried unanimously. Okay, we are on to item 9C. Any comments from the board? I guess I would like to take this opportunity since this is my last regular board meeting. Of course, have the short announcement for our superintendent next month. I just would like to thank my fellow board members and Steve and Gina, the cabinet, Patrick Finelli, and all the other fabulous people that we've gotten to work with. Parents, certainly the children, teachers. I've enjoyed the walkthroughs. This is actually, I'm kind of glad we're not in the community room, because then I'd have to hug everybody, and then it would be like, it'd be all over the paper and we'd be crying and it would just be terrible. So this is probably better. But I, in particular, just want to take a moment to thank Steve also for his service. This is his last regularly scheduled board meeting. It's been such a pleasure to work with you, Steve, and I'm so grateful to consider you a personal friend. And I'm looking forward to maybe a delayed retirement party in the fall. We can maybe have for you, so we can say goodbye in a proper way. But thank you for volunteering to consult and help our transition to the new superintendent. Kenton was very lucky to have this opportunity. I don't think I've ever seen this in a district where we have somebody whose children went to school here, was vested here as an assistant superintendent, then superintendent, and began succession planning with us. We had the luxury of time. Of course, we didn't see all the events with COVID happening, but because we had started our process so early, we were able to have the constituent groups. And I guess I will just mention about that. We do expect this evening the board will enter into executive session to make our final decision. We're hoping to make our final decision this evening. And we'll also be finalizing the details of the contract we'll be offering to the successful candidate. We will announce on Monday evening who the successful candidate is. We had wanted to announce this evening, but we were cautioned that, there's always contract negotiations and you never know. Want to make sure that's able to be executed properly. I want to thank my fellow board members for the extra work that has gone into this process and the thoughtful dialogue that we've had so far. And I want to thank all of the members of the community groups who participated in those interviews online, of course, and also to Dr. Lynn Fusco and her assistant Nancy for their work from Erie One BOCES and helping us conduct the superintendent search. So as I've said before, I forget now how many board pictures I had my first 2 years here. And this will be the fourth superintendent, although obviously taking over when I'm finished. But I wish that new superintendent the best of luck. And I wish the district the best of luck. And luckily, I'll still be able to be involved to some extent with my role in the Erie County Association of School Boards. So thank you to everybody for your amazing service. And it's been a pleasure. So.
And I just wanted to say as well, this is my last meeting as well. And I didn't expect to be doing this via Zoom, but I guess I caught us all off guard. And wow, this 3 years goes really quickly when you're serving on a board of education. So I just want to take like a few minutes to thank all of the trustees that I've been able to work with over the past couple of years, and all of the administration. And Gina, you've been amazing. And Steve, obviously, for your leadership and jumping back into this out of retirement. It was a huge commitment. And over the past 3 years, I think I always look back on the 3 years where we were when I started and where we are now. And just the tremendous amount of growth in this district through the cabinet members and the administration. And there's so many great additions in the administration that's happened over, that have come on over the past 3 years. Just the tremendous amount of positive growth that I've seen in 3 years, and being able to see it from the perspective of a board member has been really amazing to me. From the time I came on until now, just the level of excitement within the district from the teachers and the staff and the parents. It's just grown, and I'm really just honored to have been sitting on the board and as a small part of all that. Everybody's just worked so hard, and it's been really nice to see. And the folks who are running now, who will be on the ballot for next Tuesday, they are all passionate people. They all love this district immensely. So I'm certain that whoever winds up taking over our seats are gonna do a great job, and to put themselves out there in this time. They're going to be coming onto a board where things are really not normal, and to put themselves out on as to be elected onto a board of education at this time really needs to be commended. So for all those folks, those 4 folks as well, thank you. And thank you all. It's been a great 3 years. You're on mute, Jill.
I said, don't you cry. You're trying to make me cry.
No, you know what? I'm a crier too. People don't know it.
Well, thank you both for your service. It's been a pleasure working with the two of you.
Thanks, Andrew.
I was going to say the same. I've only been on a short time, and but I already know how sorely you're both going to be missed. It's going to be tough, but we'll get through.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, thank you.
Excuse me, Jill. I'd like to echo those sentiments. It was great having both of you as colleagues these years.
Thanks, Tom. Of course, Tom has to run into me now all the time because he's my neighbor, so he's not through with me yet. Okay, any other comments? All right, let's go ahead and turn this over then to our student reps. Lucas and Emily, you have an update for us?
Oh yeah. Hi. Tonight we don't have any type of formal report, but I'd like to start by on behalf of both me and Emily thanking the board for the honor of serving. And I'd also like to say how much of a great learning experience it's been for me. I don't know if Emily wants to say anything.
Yeah. As Lucas said, we didn't have any specifics to report on this month as the school year is coming to a close. But we were both really happy with the results and the information that we got from the students this year. We really couldn't have done without them. And I know the senior year wasn't exactly something that Lucas planned for or necessarily hoped for, but we just want to thank you, the teachers, educators, and the community for making the transition as easy as possible. and making the seniors feel loved in their last year, even though it couldn't be something traditional. It really was an honor to serve and something that Lucas and I can take with us wherever we go. So thank you again, all of you, for the opportunity.
Thank you both.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you very much. What a weird year, huh? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Bovino, it's your turn for the district update.
If I could, I'd like to start with the action items, if that's all right. The first action item is the MOA with the KTSEA for their contract extension, which I recommend for the board's approval.
Okay, so item 10B is a resolution to approve the MOA between the district and KTSEA. Motion to approve.
So moved.
So moved by Matt,
Second.
second by Michelle. Any discussion? There being none, I call for a vote. All those in favor so signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carried unanimously.
And the next item is the resolution approving the non-rep contracts. I recommend that for the board's approval.
Okay, motion to approve the non-rep employment agreement 2020 to 2023.
So moved.
So moved.
So moved
Second.
by Tom, second by Andrew. Any discussion? There being none, I call for a vote. All those in favor so signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. I'd like to start with the thanking the high school principals for putting together the graduation plans that were released. It's certainly not what we would have preferred, but those options weren't available to us, as everybody is aware. As it turns out, there's a lot more work and expense in planning what we are doing, but it's worth it for our students, and we look forward to those celebrations in the next couple of weeks. We continue as a leadership group to process a great deal of information on what school may look like in the fall. Today, the superintendents received a PowerPoint that I will share later from Chancellor Rosa, which indicated the 5 focus groups that will be part of the task force that will re-examine the opening of schools. And these areas of focus are as follows: health and safety, transportation, facilities and nutrition, teaching and learning, digital equity and access, budget and fiscal, social emotional needs, special education, bilingual education, and staffing and human resources. The task force will be comprised of parents, teachers, school and district leaders, school board members, and other interested parties. They have not told us yet how people will be invited to join. There'll be regional task force meetings to gather stakeholder feedback on June 15th and 17th and 22nd and 24th. Details to be released later. In our own district, Assistant Superintendent Kelly White will be facilitating our district stakeholder committee once we receive some initial guidance from the state. Just a reminder to our community members to vote for the board and budget elections on June 9th. We want to make it clear, by orders of the governor, voting is only permitted by absentee ballots. Ballots must be mailed or delivered to 1500 Colvin by 5 p.m. on June 9th. I want to thank John for his stewardship of the budget, which, as he said before, represents an overall increase in spending of just 1.08% this year. During this month of June, we hold our retirement reception for retiring staff and Board of Education members. This year's celebration, unfortunately, is going to be postponed until fall. Tonight, I would like to say a few words about our retiring members, Trustee Michelle Tarbox and President Jill O'Malley. Trustee Tarbox, thank you for your service on the Board of Education. You've been a strong voice for our students. I greatly appreciate your thoughtful exploration and discussion of the many issues we've had to deal with. As one example, I point to your leadership on the Start and End Time Committee, which involved a variety of complex issues with no easy answers. You represented the board well and were a voice of reason. So again, thank you for your service to our community. President O'Malley, thank you for your leadership and your friendship these past 3.5 years. You've done an outstanding job as board president and made me a better superintendent. Your focus has always been on kids, their families, and the community. Your work directing the Kenton Closet and the tremendous outreach to those family in need has been a hallmark of your service that will go beyond your time on the board. Your leadership role with the Erie County Association of School Boards has been equally impressive, and you have brought that same focus on kids, family, and communities to school districts across Erie County, as well as advocacy for public education. So I thank you along with my fellow superintendents. They look forward to continue working with you in that capacity, and thank you for our service to our community. This is my last regular Board of Education meeting as superintendent. First, I would like to thank the board for giving me this opportunity, both as the interim and appointed superintendent. I have to say it came as quite as a surprise 3 months after I retired, but I've enjoyed every minute of it, and it has been an honor to serve this community. When you lead an organization, you are responsible for the overall performance of the organization. Superintendents rightly have to shoulder the blame when things do not go well. In Kenton, our successes and achievements are the result of the combined efforts of our staff at every level and department in our district. Our staff has continually risen to the challenge to embrace change, always collaboratively arrived at, and have accepted the call to push the envelope. There are countless examples too numerous to mention. As leaders, one of our primary responsibilities is to unleash the power and creativity of our staff that they may better serve our students and their families. Kenton Pride is alive and well, and the district and community is poised to continue to improve and build on those successes. And I say this to our students. The focus is and will continue to be on your success and providing you with the best education possible. I'd also like to thank our community for your support, including supporting our budgets, the strategic plan, and our new capital project. You have continued to make a wise investment in our community. I'm tempted to include a list of the many staff and community members who have contributed to our success, but that would take hours. Suffice to say, it's a team effort in this district, and that we can be proud of. My focus for June will be to work closely with our new superintendent, who, as Jill said, will be announced and appointed next week, so that we have a very smooth transition. The district faces a number of great challenges this school year, but I am very confident that our staff and community are up for the challenge and will continue to thrive. This is my second retirement from Kenton, and as I noted the first time I retired, I leave with great thankfulness for being a part of this fantastic community. Thank you, everyone, and that concludes my report.
So you're not answering the phone if I call. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I've blocked your number already, sorry. Only kidding.
All righty. Very good.
If there's no questions, we'll turn it over to Assistant Superintendent White.
Thank you. I don't have any specific updates this evening, but would like to echo the sentiments that you've spoken about this evening. I'd like to thank Trustee Tarbox and President O'Malley for your continued support of the work of the district, and you're representing the community, providing us the feedback we need to make those appropriate adjustments, and wish you both the best, but hopefully you're not too far away. Also like to thank Superintendent Rubino for his service to the district. I know you won't be far, but I have been incredibly blessed to serve under your leadership. And also want to wish the best of luck to Lucas and Emily as you move on to your next adventure. Please keep us posted on what happens in your post-secondary careers. Other than that, I have a couple of items on the consensus agenda. Were there any questions? Thank you. That's the end of my report.
Okay, Mr.
I'm up.
Yep, Mr. Brocato.
The first item I have is a resolution to establish an insurance reserve fund. This is the insurance reserve fund that we worked with our legislators to allow us to expend any appropriations from this reserve on healthcare related expenditures because we are self-funded. So it was a long time coming, but we're glad it's here. So we're going to establish this reserve and hopefully be in a position to fund it. So with that, I recommend the establishment of the insurance reserve fund.
Okay, motion to approve the the establishment of the insurance reserve fund.
So moved.
So moved by
Second.
Andrew. Second, I think by Tom. Just want to make a comment here because it's probably not explicit to people. I want to thank John, first of all, with his advocacy. We worked really hand in hand with our local elected officials, as he said. I want to thank Senator Chris Jacobs and Assemblyman Robin Schiminger for crafting individual pieces of legislation to amend the municipal law to allow us to establish this reserve. Municipalities have this ability to do this, but school districts do not. And of course, with, as we saw in our own budget, changing amounts of money, changing costs that we can't account for, especially with the tax cap, this will allow us to plan more carefully and effectively. So just want to say thanks, John, for your work on that too.
Thank you.
All those in favor, so signify with aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried unanimously.
Okay, the next action item is the reserve fund intent resolution. We do this every year just to show the intent that we are looking with any kind of additional surplus at the end of the year to fund our reserves. So the reserves that we have are listed on this resolution. And in the event that we do have surplus, we will look to then fund those appropriately. So with that, I recommend the reserve fund intent resolution.
Okay, motion to approve the reserve fund intent resolution. So moved by Michelle, second
Second.
by Andrew. Any discussion? There being none, I call for a vote. All those in favor so signify with aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carried unanimously.
And then I just have a few other contracts and some other items in the consent agenda. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Okay, and I would just like to echo Kelly White, Lucas, Emily, Trustee Charbox, President O'Malley. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you. Jill, I'm not sure if you trained any other board members on our walkthroughs, but I don't know who's going to point out some items to spend money on.
Yeah. Oh, I'm still coming along on the walkthroughs. I got robbed
Oh,
out of like
perfect.
6 months, so I'm totally coming. They said-
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so it won't be that weird. And then,
Yeah,
of course, Superintendent Bavino, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you and alongside you, not only when you were assistant soup for HR, but more so as the superintendent. So best of luck, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I'm back, so I will turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Richards.
Thank you. Good evening. I do want to start out by saying feedback. Is that still getting feedback? Okay. I do want to start out saying thank you to Trustees O'Malley and Tarbox for being on the Board of Education to give me an opportunity to work here. Mr. Bavino was one of the primary reasons why I applied here, knowing his expertise and ability to mentor me. And I deeply value that. And Emily and Lucas, it's been a pleasure getting to know you over the course of the year, minus the last 2 months, and best wishes next year in the fall. For the personnel docket tonight, there is one individual I'd like to just identify for a second, and it's the assistant principal that we're recommending for hire tonight. Kelly Radley comes from Batavia. She's taught in Batavia since 2006. She's been at TOSA since 2015 and was recently appointed the acting assistant principal at Jackson Primary. We think she's going to be a great fit with Kia Evans, and we look forward to her arrival pending your approval. Other than that, I don't have anything else on the docket. That concludes my report.
Did she work with Kia in Batavia?
She did.
Oh, okay. All right, good. So they'll have a relationship. Okay. Very good.
Okay, at this point, I recommend the consensus agenda for the board's approval.
Okay, any requests to withdraw specific items from consensus? Alrighty then, I would like a motion to approve the consensus agenda, including addenda items.
So moved.
So moved by Andrew, second.
Second.
Okay, Michelle? Any discussion? Okay, then all those in favor so signify with aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried unanimously. Any other matters that need to be brought before the board? Okay, we do have a need for executive session to discuss the hiring of a superintendent. I'd like a motion to adjourn to executive session.
So moved.
Oh, man, I don't even know. I think it was
Second.
Okay. Did Tom go first and then Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay. Tom and then Andrew. All right. All those in favor so signify with aye.
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 Okay. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried unanimously. Okay, then John will give us a breakout room. Thank you, everybody.